right, so we'll get started here for today's webinar. Thank everyone for coming to today's webinar. The webinar today that we're going to be covering is creating or how to create residential suite marketing plans with ease. So my name is Patrick Siemek. I'm a technical consultant at SolidCAD. I am on the AEC team, and today I'll be presenting a webinar in regards to how can we create marketing suite plans utilizing a tool from CTC software, actually a couple of the tools, to quickly create some of these marketing plans that we may have been trying to create over and over time, maybe in a manual process. And we'll see a few different ways that we can actually help automate some of these changes or development of our marketing or suite plans. So today's learning objectives. So some of the tools that we're going to be using is going to be called Room Data Sheets and Sheet Assistant from the BIM Project Suite from CTC. So one of the learning objectives is how do we access the Room Data Sheets and the Sheet Assistant? Looking at the interface of the Room Data Sheets tool and the Sheet Assistance tool. With utilizing both of these tools, we're going to see how we can control some of the naming, order, placement, and presentations of views on sheets, and how we could also use Sheet Assistant to bring consistency to sheets previously created manually. So we're going to be utilizing a few different tools here today to kind of create these marketing plans or these suite plans that we're working through. So with that said, we're going to go into a live demo. If there's any kind of questions or comments, feel free just to put one into the chat, or we can save it towards the end where we'll have a little bit of a Q&A. So as I jump into Revit, here I just have a Revit model, and I'm right now in my project browser, I'm on one of my working floor plans. So typically how we would be working to create some of these marketing plans, it is a very manual process. So if I were to come into here and if I were just to add some room tags, I'm just going to come into my location here, quickly add some room tags so we can see what rooms we're working with. So now we can see we have a few different suites in our view. Typically how we would be creating our marketing plans is we'd be duplicating views, cropping the crop boundaries, applying a view template. So that does take time. So some of the different kind of workflows, we could just be taking a view, duplicating that view. I'm just duplicating my view here, just showing the work plan, giving the view a name. So this would be my suite. As I had 201 plan. With this view, we'll then be kind of creating our crop boundary, different ways of modifying the crop boundary. We could sketch a boundary if needed. I'm going to come into here. I could go from here all the way up. Cropping the views. With the views then starting to be cropped, we could start adding a view template. I could come into my working view. I already have a view template for my view types, my presentation plans. So it changes the graphics as needed. Once you do create your view or your suite layout or your marketing plan as we created, we then start create sheets. So again, with the process, we come into our sheets. Here we have a list of sheets here. I come into new sheet, look for one of my new sheets, select OK. And as you can see, it is quite a manual process. So I could come here. This can be M101, placing that in place, giving this a name, Suite 201. Oh, maybe I can do Suite 201 here. Once we have that in place, going now back to my views, looking for that suite, dragging it and dropping it on my view. So we have that there. We title with no line. So as you can see, it's a very manual process to start creating these views. But if I wanted other types of views, maybe 3D view, well, then we'll have to take a little bit of more time to create those views. Create a 3D view, crop it down to a specific location as we have here, and then start dragging and dropping those views onto the sheets and then having our marketing plans. So to help us automate this type of process, duplicating views, creating the views, renaming the views, applying the view templates, we can use a tool from CTC called Room Data Sheets. So I'm just going to remove some of these views that I've just created. Gonna remove the sheet. I'll remove that view I had, and I'm just back to my working plan. So room data sheets, the tool that we're gonna be using is gonna be found once you download it underneath your CTC software tab. So once you select the tab, we're gonna see a list of different suites that I have. Today, we're gonna be looking at the BIM project suite, which we do have the room data sheets tool. So with our BIM project suite and selecting the room data sheets, it's going to open up our tool, and then we'll start to see the user interface. So with this, a pretty simple user interface that we're going to be working with to start our projects for. So right at the very top, before I jump into anywhere of these sections here, picking any types of rooms, we're just going to look at the other areas of our room interface here. So first at the top, as it says, pick rooms or spaces, so you could use either category as needed. As we keep moving down in the middle, we can now see how do we want certain sheets being numbered and named. So you do have some type of naming convention. You could always modify it and customize it to your specific need. Then we start to have here now at the bottom, views. This is where now we're going to start picking and choosing from that selected room or space. What views do I want this tool to automatically generate? So that's where we're going to be setting up the views. And then on the right side, we have what title block do we want our views to be placed on, and then how would they be laid out, and then with the spacing that goes along with it. So with that said, let's go just through a few of these options and seeing how we could work through these tools. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's pick a room to work with. So as I click pick rooms and spaces, it's going to bring me back into my Revit view. I could select multiple rooms, but right now I'm just going to select one as an example, selecting my first room in place and clicking finish. Once we have that room selected, we do have some properties we then want to kind of specify for this room. Underneath, we have the sheet numbering and sheet naming. So I'm just going to keep it simple by the sheet number and then the name. We could add a prefix and then a starting number, an increment, and then let it be a suffix if needed. I'm going to have my sheets for the marketing being set under a prefix of N, and then the numbering based off of what the suite number is, and then an increment of 1. Right now, we just have one room. Towards the bottom here, I'll just take a few of these out as we're going to work our way through. You're going to have now to select what you want to be part of, say, this room. What type of views do you want to be placed on a sheet? So where we have our reviews at the bottom, we can start adding, copying rows or deleting rows. I just deleted a few there, but let's add a row. So the first thing I want to add into my row is going to be a floor plan view. So as I click add row, we can then see a list being developed here, which I can then pick what type of view do I want to place. First type of view I want to place is going to be a floor plan view. With my floor plan view then selected, I could hit the plus button. And from here, we could start now generating what types of, say, graphical settings that we want to be applied to this specific view. You could have a specific browser organization. As you click down, you can start selecting different types over here. Your view name, how will it be named inside of your project browser? You could always apply a view template, which I already have one here, which would be my floor plan presentation. You could give it a scale or a custom scale. So here you could always create what type of scale you like to use for your specific view types. If there's a parent view, you also had offset options. So the offset for here would be for a floor plan is the cropping boundary. How much do you want it to offset from the room boundary? So here it's going to be based off of the units that you were working with inside of your project. So right now we have one, which would just be 1 millimeter. I'm just going to have it just so it goes right to the ends, right to the ends of my room. You also have a cut plane offset and a viewport type. Right now, I do not want a title, so I don't have to kind of turn those on and off as needed. So that's already setting up one of my type of views that I want to develop from the room that I've selected. As I keep going, maybe I'm going to close this. I want another type of view. So as I'm working from here, we could add another row. Also within our rows, oops, let me just set this a little higher. You have a layout option. So you could, if I'm going to have a floor plan at the top and then a 3D view at the bottom, I could create what is called a row break. Now we start to have this option here. With my view starting to be developed on the right side, I can now start seeing my view, how it's going to be shown. Title block at the top, what title block do I want to use? And then we'll talk about the margins a little bit later. I can refresh this view, and as you can see, and I will show how that view will be placed onto a sheet. There is an auto option here, which I could leave as I keep kind of developing my different views and the layouts. So as I have a floor plan view and then a layout break, I'm then going to add another type of view. I want a 3D view of my room. I'm going to go back to the bottom, select 3D view, creates my 3D view option. As you can see, it's already auto updating in my view on the right side. From here, we can start applying again a few different options that are needed. Browser organization, view name, what template. I also do have already a 3D presentation template. You got your scale, you got your top offsets. So again, for that 3D view, how much do you want to offset that view? I'm going to do a, minus, maybe I won't do an auto here. I'm going to change that back to -1. As we have that option here, 0.3, and I'll keep the other ones as needed. You do have other properties that you could select too. As you can see, the different offset boundaries for that 3D view that's needed. Your view location, which way does it look? So there are a few different options here, and then the view type, and then do you want a title or no title, or a specific property that you have in place. With that then created, I'm just going to hit the refresh option on the right side, and you can see now how my view will be generated with the sheet. So with a few of those settings already in place, I'm going to click Create Sheets. And in a matter of seconds, if I just minimize this window here, in my project browser, I can see I now have a presentation view. There's my 201 suite floor plan. I double click into it. That is the view that has just been created. If I go to my 3D section, I can see 3D views. There's my 201 suite 3D. There is that view that was automatically created. As I keep moving my way down, let's go now to the sheets. I click the plus button. There's my M201. I double click into that area, and automatically we could see we have the sheet numbering, sheet naming, and also the views directly applied to that sheet. So with a few moments of there just setting up your room data sheets properties, you can see we could quickly develop multiple view types and place them onto sheets with a proper naming convention. So let's go and create a few more of these types of, say, sheets. So I'm going to go back to my working plan. Here we have the other suites, 202 all the way to 206. Going to go back to my room data sheets. Oh, I think it's already open here. So we have this in place. Actually, I'll just close out of this tool. Let's go back into Revit. Open up room data sheets again. As you can see, it already remembers the last thing I've done for the last settings. I'm just going to pick a few rooms and spaces. So I'm going to go from 202, 3, 4, 5, 6. Click the finish button. Here we could see a list of all the different options. You could also move your suites around just simply by dragging them. Maybe if you selected them as a whole and they're not in the proper order, you could select them, start dragging them up and down. You also have some options here, elevation, minimum boundary length. So when an elevation is created, how far off is going to be kind of the boundary options there, and then any types of elevations for that location. And again, different walls and spaces. As I keep moving down here, prefix M101, I'm going to change actually the numbering to start from 202, since I already have that M201 sheet. And here at the bottom, we can now see the different views that I've created. We could always add some, we could always remove some. But if I click the refresh button, here we can see the sheets that are being created. One thing I want to properly create as I create these other views is after the 3D view, I'm going to add actually one more row to make sure that there is always going to be a page break. So again, it's going to be breaking the page at that. So after a floor plan view with a row break and a 3D view is created, I then want a page break. This will be helpful as you start accumulating a lot of different types of views for your sheets, and as they are being laid out, you want to make sure that they're properly in the correct positions. On the right side, where you have your views and on the title block, you can start specifying the margins. How offset are they from the left, the right, the top, or the bottom? So again, different title blocks will have different spacings and views. and also the spacings from the views themselves. How many rows are you going to have, views, and their distances. So with all of these additional, how do we have 5 different views in place? Going to just make sure refreshing it that everything is there, and I'm going to create these sheets. As I created all these sheets, if I look now to my project browser on the right, we can now see I got suites from 201 to 206, all created 3D views. My presentation floor plan views from suite 201 all the way to 206, and we have those additional sheets at the bottom. If I were to just open up some of those sheets, as we can see, everything has been properly laid out with the proper view templates, with the proper cropping boundaries that I have assigned, and the proper naming conventions. With the Room Data Sheets tool, you can save these settings, so you do have a save configuration. So if you have something consistent being utilized from project to project, you can save these settings, you can load them in and use them as a starting point. And then you're just picking the rooms and spaces as needed, modify it per project as so. So with that tool, we could quickly start creating multiple suite plan views or marketing plan views, as we could see here inside of our projects. To quickly show how do we kind of continue doing that, I can go to another view itself without adding a room tags to it. Since I already know it kind of starts from 301 to 306, I could come into here, start selecting the rooms, finish those as needed, have them already in order, just start changing the numbering, refresh the layout of the page. So again, it might just take a few seconds to load up all those options. As I hit create sheets, it's then going to create, once again, the 3D views, the 2D plan views, and the sheets all in one shot, as we could see on the right side. And then there we have the 301 views with the sheets as needed. So a great tool that you could use to quickly help create views, name the views in a proper naming convention, and also apply them to a sheet to create and modify the development of those views. So from the manual process that we saw early on to just a quick automated way. Another tool that we could use to, as we start developing these, say, marketing plans, if I come to my M201 sheet and something has changed, well, maybe I'm going to have my 2D plan view on the left side and my 3D view just on the right. And as I kind of have these being placed, modifying them to the correct position that I want them to be. Well, as I modify this first sheet, all my other sheets, they are not updated. So if I go to all the other sheets in place, we can see that they're still in kind of the old format. So if we have some kind of manually adjusted sheet view and we want to apply that setting to maybe all the other consistent or all the other typical views that we have inside of the sheet list, this is where we could utilize our sheet assistant tool to update all the other sheets in my project to the new one that I've modified it to. So utilizing another tool after the room data sheets in the CTC software, BIM project suite tools, we are going to see the sheet assistant tool. So this is more of a newer tool for the BIM project suite. Great things that you could use inside of here. One of them is just modifying and updating already existing views to a new layout, which we're going to be doing in this portion. So from the sheet assistant tool, as we open it, on the left side, we have some kind of configuration or sheet that we want to select to use as our main element. In the middle, where are we targeting that change? You could also create new sheets here, and then what views are being affected by it. So on the left side, first, my configuration, you can have saved configurations being used. I'm just going to use one that's internally already inside of my project. So I'm just going to go to my sheets, and I'm going to scroll down and look for my M101 sheet. If not, it's already selected, or it's already selected since it is open in my project browser or in my project in the back. From here, I'm then going to select the views themselves and make sure that they have the correct location, how I want them to be placed inside of my views. So I'm going to go left, top. So again, just setting kind of like an insertion point, you could think about it as here. So my floor plan is going to be to the left top, and then my 3D view is going to go to the right top also. With my view selected, or with my first sheet selected and the layout that I want, I'm going to go now to the target sheets. I'm going to select from M202 all the way to all my other sheets. So I could select all of my sheets within my project. On the right side now, which views do I want to be adjusted to now that configuration that I have on my left? So if I come to the right side here, and if I just open, say, M201, 202, and 203, and I could tile my views here, so you could see how this process will work. As we could see, the bottom right M201 sheet is the new layout that I want. All the other sheets, at least just a couple of them here, I also want them to mimic that layout. So from the Sheet Assistant tool, I already have the configuration on the left. What are my target sheets? But then also which views do I want to be affected by that configuration? It knows if it's a floor plan or a 3D view. I want to select these all. So I'm just going to click the Select All tool. And as I hit apply, so I'm just going to move this off the screen here for a second. As I hit apply, give it a few seconds, and you'll see all of the other sheets have now been updated to that original configuration. And then when I come back here, we have just the Sheet Assistant tool. So with this, as we have, starting from the room data sheets, we can quickly create our suite plans or marketing plans utilizing the room data sheets tool. You could apply view templates. You could apply orientation of where you want your views to be placed. You could have multiple views being created, floor plans, ceiling plans, elevations, 3D views. Those could always be created and then applied to a sheet with certain naming conventions, keeping the consistency of those naming conventions, row breaking, adjusting the margins, how things are being spaced within the sheets themselves. View templates can also be applied to them. Once those views are created, you then apply them to a sheet, and it's developing all your views, all of your sheets based off of the properties and values that you have inputted. And the final one that we kind of looked at was the Sheet Assistant tool, where if we made a modification to one of our sheets and we want to replicate that through multiple sheets throughout my project, I could use that Sheet Assistant tool to take an original configuration, which was in my case, Suite 201, applied it to all my other sheets in my project, and now we have that quick updated, say, change of views onto those sheets. So in conclusion, utilizing the room data sheets, you can it generates 3D plan, reflected ceiling, elevation, schedule, and even legend views as needed per your, say, room data sheets that you want to create. You can control the naming, order, placement, and presentation of views on the sheets. You can preview your sheets to be created and adjust spacing, size, and scale. So we saw that on the menu on the right side, where we saw the sheet and how the views were being placed. And then finally, if something did change, maybe the orientation of the views onto a sheet, and you want to replicate that throughout your project, you can use the Sheet Assistant to bring consistency to sheets previously created manually. So with that, the tools that we're using today, again, were room data sheets and the Sheet Assist tool, which is from the BIM project suite from CTC. How to obtain these CTC tools? So you could go directly to the ctcsoftware.com website, and underneath products, you will see the BIM project suite, where you could access and download the tools. They are a paid tool. You will be able to get a demo, I think, for 14 days there for you to use. So you could access the tools there or download them, or even get more information about them and how they work, again, with videos along with it. So also another way to get information about these tools, you could contact me directly, Patrick Siemek, technical consultant with SolidCAD on the AEC team. My email right there is patrick.siemek@solidcad.ca. So if there's any other kind of questions or comments you may have, or some inquiry about the tools, feel free to contact me directly, and I'll be more than happy to help you with that information. So with that said, I'm just going to open up here for Q&A. The video will be recorded also, so it will be posted later on SolidCAD's YouTube page, which it can also be accessed. So I'm just going to give a few moments here if anyone has any questions, comments for me to take. You could use the chat, or you could unmute yourself if you like, and I could provide you those options. Or even the chat directly too. Just gonna go back to my, there's my contact. If you just want to later on also directly contact me for any questions or comments that you may have. Yep. So got a question here. I've unmuted you there, Mladen, if you have a question.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we have a question. If you have questions.
Yeah. So you said you're using the room. You defined the room, but that was actually the whole suite. So what will happen when you have a room defined as a living room, washroom, kitchen, bathroom? Like you have several rooms within the suite, and that's usually how it's the case. So then how do you use this tool to define 5 different rooms, that actually form the suite? Because we are making suite plan, right?
Yeah.
Not really a room plan.
So can we maybe like combine certain rooms to define the gross suite area that we want to put on the sheet? Because
yeah, I know where the question is there. So just seeing, because it is picking up the whole room itself. It's not picking just the, like if you have them individually, like the bathroom, living room, it's picking up just that individual room. There's no way to kind of combine them to create it, because it's individually making those floor plan, say, crop boundaries in that sense. So when you are working through it, if I were to come back here to Revit, yeah, it is picking up, I guess, to your question here. Just close all these other ones. Oops, number 2. Yeah, because how I defined it here is it is a room, but I've unchecked the walls to be not room bounding. But you're mentioning if we have, let's see, maybe I do have.
And that's not usually the case. We always define every room.
We're defining suites through area, not through room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But even-
then individual rooms are part of that suite.
And is there a way to set the extent of the area that, like, outside of that room? Because I saw that that outside walls are not included on the floor plan. Is there a way to maybe like define that room, but offset that area that is shown on the plan for some, like, the thickness of the wall?
We have to change.
There is
Yeah, so for sure. So if I come back here into the room data sheets as an example, and I select the room, like if I click this room here, just close out of these and finish floor,
So, okay. So,
you'll see the offset right here.
okay, great. So that for like 300 mils or whatever.
room.
Yep. So you can start. I think I think
know, I
that's
just-
large.
And if we have rooms on multiple levels, and then like, can we like select them from sheet and just put into this add-on and generate that way? So
Yeah, you could keep on adding them. So like if I come onto, I guess, say the sheet itself. As
I meant to ask, sorry, can we select room from schedule if we have typical suites? For example, one is on level 1, the second is 11.2, and so on. So we want to grab all the typical suite in one go. So can we first schedule them and select from schedule and put into this add-on?
No, it's going to be a physical selection. So like here, as you can see, you can't go from a schedule. You're actually going to be physically picking the rooms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or spaces. What does it mean, spaces?
Spaces are from the MEP side.
Space is with the
Spaces are the MEP equivalent to rooms.
Instead of area.
Yeah, but the way we, like in our workflow, we have set up areas would be ideal for us, for example. And the other thing is when we have like such suites where the scale is important for us also. Like
Yeah,
some
so per the
suites can be
suite, you could
smaller,
still, yep,
Yeah,
you
we
can
can-
still customize the scale if you like. That is part of the tool there.
Yeah, okay.
Or you could have even a view template. Say
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
have a certain type of scale, you could then set the view template to have that
Just to
specific
choose that
scale.
one. Yeah.
But it has to be either room or space.
That is correct, yes.
Maybe we can check, like room doesn't work for us because we already have.
Like in that case, we can just create like special rooms for this, where we just like set the line, room bounding line around the wall, and then
No,
it's
so
not
if-
might
if
not be
there is
convenient.
What you mentioned rooms
Yeah.
or spaces. So maybe for the space,
So space, yeah, we could take that offline here if we want to talk a little bit more to that, but yeah, because spaces are a little bit different. So it's rooms and spaces.
yeah, but can you show us if you, for example, define one unit as a space? If you do that, then is the same procedure?
Well, there is a little, like, I guess it would be the same because what a space does, it works the exact same as a room. It just
Can you
that
show us, like, if you define one space, how that would look like?
it's just the same way. So it's the same way you see, like you have here, add a new space. That's what I'm just doing. It's doing the exact same thing as what a room does. It looks for the walls that are bounding.
It
when
just
you have it in place.
define what you want to put, and that's just one thing, no matter what.
Okay, so we have, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because in our, like, architectural drawings, we need to define the rooms, for example, bedrooms, to check what's the area, because it has to be compliant with the building code.
Yep.
So then, defining everything as a one room and having all the non-bounding walls are not really the option then.
Yeah, so that's the thing. The tool, it is just looking directly for a room. It's not, you can't do the combination of multiple rooms as one.
Is there something for area?
Yeah.
No, no.
Maybe we should tell them to make one.
Because, so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how other people do it, but, yeah, for us, areas define the whole.
Sweet, yeah.
You know, and then it would make more sense that, you know, areas are actually the ones that we can select and then create cropping views based on the area, actually.
Yeah, if you want to email me directly, kind of that question there, I could inquire a little bit more on it and then get you kind of an answer to it. But I know this tool right now is just doing the rooms and spaces, as you saw within the webinar.
Yeah. Okay.
So if the room is not rectangular in shape, but let's say L shape or something like that, how would the tool crop the view?
It crops it from the farthest bounding element. So it does, if it's like an L shape, it won't do an L shape. It'll still do a rectangle or a square, but it'll go to the farthest cropping element.
Oh,
Okay.
Always do horizontal to vertical.
Yeah.
It's hard program to make. Crop it otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, that might require like amount of manual adjusting on the, because we rarely have like just square unit.
yeah, no, and that's where it is. It is a little bit of manual adjustment once it is created to get that proper, I guess, cropping area. But it's a good starting point. You get a lot of the views already quickly initialized for the location or for the view types.
What would be good, like, because like these floor plan, branded plan, marketing plan sketches, like scale is not really important. We just want to see like the outline, and maybe what you can do is just set the custom scale to fit in the certain predefined area on the sheet. Maybe to set the boundary, like view boundaries to follow the room outline.
Yep, because that's the thing. Yeah, you could define the room to what you want and then play
It's
with those
just-
offsets exactly how you want them to be.
But certainly too can, for certain layouts, can save a lot of
Mhm.
time.
For sure, yeah, and the sheet assistant is great too. If there is a change to a sheet to modify kind of the arrangement there, that tool definitely can be used in hand with it to quickly get everything reorganized to the same workflow. Yeah, so looks like we don't have any other kind of questions here, but again, feel free to reach out to me again, patrick.siemek@solidcad. If you have any questions in regards more to this, again, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to kind of discuss with it and the other tools that there may be in the CTC software suite. So once again, thank you everyone for coming to today's webinar. My name is Patrick Siemek from SolidCAD, and hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.